Up next on Eco Company,
teens tracking creatures under the sand.
You get a big one?
This is a big sand crab. It's 26 millimeters.
Wow. Yep, these guys are small, so what's the big deal? We'll tell you why they're so important that these teens are keeping tabs on them.
and new inspiration for the crusade against plastic.
We got to see iguanas and turtles, all types of insects, which I wasn't too fond of.
These guys traveled over 3,000 miles to go to the beach where they learned about plastic pollution.
Then, Team Marine, high school students protecting a famous California beach.
In reality, we shouldn't be finding anything. There should be no trash.
From the beach to the lab, these teens take protecting the ocean seriously. All that and more coming up
On Eco Company. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to Eco Company. I'm Jordan.
And I'm Brendan. So you normally wouldn't go to a beach on a cold and windy day, right?
Well, if you're one of the teens we're about to meet, you do.
Yeah, they're braving the cold in the name of science.
This isn't what many people think of as a typical day at the beach,
7.
but it is for these guys. They're high school students and careers in science interns at the California Academy of Sciences. It's a multi-year education program for budding scientists. Today, interns like Jasmine Petway are on the hunt for something hidden beneath the sand. And that's these little guys, the Pacific mole crab.
What exactly do you have right there?
You get a big
This
one?
is a big sand crab. It's 26 millimeters.
Wow.
And it's a female without eggs.
We get to go out and dig for sand crabs every Wednesday, and I've been doing that for 2 summers now.
And if that water looks chilly, that's because it is.
The water's pretty cold, but I mean, after a few minutes, your feet kind of get numb and then you get used to it.
Christian Paz doesn't mind braving the cold in the name of research.
Oh yeah, for science, everything's worth it.
Their job here? To find out how healthy the sand crab population is along the stretch of coastline.
Crabs may sound boring, but especially off the coast of California, they actually play a really big role in the ecosystem.
They're at the bottom of the food chain, so they are really super important. Sea lions eat them, birds eat them.
Surf perch is the top predator in this ecosystem, but over 90% of its diet is these sand crabs alone.
So this could affect the entire food chain if they are wiped out or anything. Right.
And so by collecting this data, we want to do it not just over 1 year, but over many, many years, so that we can have this record of data.
Gigapaths.
During the summer, interns take 50 samples a week. First, they do a transect to narrow down their study area. Then it's down to business. Kylie Wong and Hadrian Kwan
The tidal height,
are project supervisors.
2 meters and rising. We take these, what are called cores. They're just a little cylinder. We dig them into the ground, and when we haul these cores out of the ground, we sort of sift through all the sand we find, and we look at the sand crabs we collect.
Wow, there are so many.
They're doing 2 things.
9R.
Measuring how big they are, and also determining if they're male or female.
So what do you have right there?
So here we have a sand crab with eggs. So
Wow, it's bright orange. So those are all the eggs, right?
Yep.
And so is it a good thing to see these eggs? I mean, then you know that they're reproducing and right?
yeah, generally the sign of a healthy population when you find at least a few females with eggs.
We have to measure every single one that's above 10.
Eric Godoy manages the Careers in Science program and makes sure these guys have the tools they need.
And what's great about these youth is that they're so engaged with science and doing so much to really understand the natural world around them.
It's not a study that happens overnight. The Academy's been keeping tabs out here for 8 years and counting.
What's critical to a monitoring program is we're seeing what changes are happening over a long period of time. And in that time, we've noticed up until actually this year, a really big decline in the number of sand crabs.
This year, we haven't found many. A couple years ago, we had found 10 of these a day, each week.
It's time to pack things up at the beach, but the work doesn't end there. Next, it's back to intern headquarters at the Academy to make their findings official. They enter all their stats into a Sandy Beach long-term monitoring database. It's a project of the Farallones Marine Sanctuary Association.
So this is very important data that we've been able to provide for many other institutions.
That data gets put into like the larger picture, and so it's kind of cool that like us as youth can contribute to like the scientific community.
After that, they're still not done. Next up, it's a turn on the academy floor, where interns educate the public about climate change and global warming.
That's actually one of the major parts of our, what we talk about on the public floor, what interns are basically taught to teach to a lot of visitors.
One of the aspects that we think is important for the Careers in Science program is to really educate these youth about climate change and the impact that it has on life.
It's really good for kids who might be from the city and they might not know these problems, but they come out and they learn a lot, and so they're ready to teach other people about them.
So whether it's inside or out, their mission is to explore, explain, and protect the world around us all.
The more information we have, the more we can really understand about the world.
And our goal is to propel them into that science career, and it's fantastic to see them get so engrossed by the process of science and by really doing a lot of the activities that professional scientists would do.
And also it's really good for youth to be involved because this is what's happening to us, and I mean, it might sound corny, but we are the future.
And as the saying goes, the future is what we make of it.
Coming up, teens who spent their summer at the beach, over 3,000 miles from home, but they didn't like what they saw. Find out what these teens are doing to keep plastic out of the ocean.
And later, Teen Marine, crusaders protecting one of Southern California's most famous beaches. More Eco Company is straight ahead. Okay, so you're getting the picture. This show is all about beaches and oceans.
Yep, and this next group of teens traveled over 3,000 miles to get their inspiration.
It was an eye-opening experience, and Jessica has the story.
What is plastic? This isn't your usual class lecture. These teachers are actually students. They're members of the Environmental Science Academy at Oakland High School in Northern California.
It's very fun. You learn about all sorts of things, everything about the environment. We go to the lake and study about the water.
Each week we do tests in the lake to make sure that the water is clean for the fish and the organisms.
Today they're taking what they've learned and passing it on. And they've got a big message for their classmates, and that's to kick plastics to the curb.
A lot of people don't know about them. They think you just throw them away and they get recycled, and so we just want to bring more awareness to that.
These students didn't know how bad plastics were for the environment either, until a trip to Costa Rica opened their eyes.
We learned a lot about the environment, how our actions, plastic and stuff affects it.
10 students got the chance to head south, thanks to the AFAR Foundation and its partnership with the nonprofit organization Global Explorers. Laura Levinson is with AFAR.
We believe in the power of travel, so we wanted to extend that to the Learning AFAR program to send kids that would never normally be able to travel abroad on an educational trip.
It's a trip these guys won't forget.
Can you tell me a little bit about what you saw there?
Oh, we saw tons of things. We got to see iguanas and turtles laying eggs. They were huge and beautiful, and it was nice. It was fun. All types of insects, which I wasn't too fond of, but it was wonderful out there. It was kind of breathtaking. It was nice, though.
But not everything they saw made for a pretty picture. They found trash littering the beaches and a lot of plastic.
What did you learn about plastic out there?
We learned that it's forever, sadly, but it's forever. We saw little pieces of plastic that you don't know where they came from, and yeah, we learned a lot about the pollution that washed up on the beaches and things like that.
The tiniest pieces are called nurdles.
It's before plastic is made, it's pre-plastic, And those really have a big effect on the Costa Rican animals because they mistake them as fish eggs.
And then when they eat it, like it doesn't digest or anything, so it just stays there. And then when it affects them, it affects us because we eat them too.
Animals consume them, they're forever, they don't break up, and it's our job to basically just prevent these animals from getting harmed by these plastics.
That job starts back at home, and these guys didn't waste any time springing into action. Besides giving presentations, they've re-energized their school's recycling program and launched a campaign to stop using plasticware and styrofoam on campus.
We started an event, it's called BYOFP, which is Bring Your Own Fork and Plate, where we basically promote the not using plastic and styrofoam for school lunches.
It's about minimizing the unnecessary plastics and trash that people use every day for no reason. When you can bring your own plate, bring your own Tupperware.
They're not just keeping it inside the classroom, they're also taking action out here, cleaning up their community one scoop at a time.
They're scooping up trash at a lake near their school. It ends up here after being carried through storm drains.
Storm drains are like horrible portals. They convert litter on the street to water pollution.
If it's not cleaned up, the next stop would be the ocean. Dr. Richard Bailey heads up the Lake Merritt Institute.
The United Nations estimates there are 46,000 pieces of plastic for every square mile of ocean. And 80% of it comes from the land. It washes in just like this. This is a tiny small part of what's going on in every city around the world.
Not something anyone out here wants to see.
Right now we're trying to have our goal is to clean the lake and trying to preserve and make it better.
So from spending their afternoon fishing out plastic to encouraging their school to green up and teaching classmates about the dangers of plastic pollution, these ESA students want to do their part to protect the marine ecosystem.
They've just blown me away with how they've implemented stuff that they've learned directly from the trip. They're talking to their peers about it, they're talking to their families about it. They're really trying to put everything that they learned into action at home. And it's been great to see them spread the word about the lessons that they've learned.
Sooner or later, our kids, our grandkids, whatever, they're gonna be here. And if the fish aren't here, we're not going to be here, period, because we eat fish and it just messes up the food chain. And if there's no food chain, there's no life.
In the beginning, I really didn't care, to be honest. I just didn't value the environment. But this trip definitely changed the way I saw things. It had a really big impact on me.
Now this crew hopes they can help change others too.
Coming up, teens taking interest in their beach.
They're on a mission to protect one of the prettiest beaches of Southern California.
More Eco Company is still ahead.
Up next, it's not an average day for some Southern California teens.
They go to school just blocks from the ocean, and they're going all out to protect it.
Who wouldn't love going to school near a beach? That's exactly what the teens at Santa Monica High School get to do every day. But that means they also come face to face with all this. It's trash on what would otherwise be miles of pristine beach along California's coast.
When tourists come to the beach, they look around and they say, wow, it is so clean. But what they actually don't know is they're just getting a general standpoint. When you really dig down, when you really get deep to it, it is really filled with trash. That's not pretty.
That's where Team Marine comes in. Team Marine is a multi-award-winning action group of high school students that doesn't sit on the sidelines. From cleaning up the beach and testing water quality, to lobbying against single-use plastic bags, and even building a solar boat. These guys mean business when it comes to protecting the planet.
Our oceans are highly polluted. You know, you find so much stuff in the beach that just should not be there.
Today we're tagging along to see these guys in action. They've taken off for the beach, along with Team Marine coach Benjamin Kay.
Yeah, we're just mixing it right now. We'll sort it when we get back later.
We quickly discover their work begins before they even hit the shoreline.
We're collecting a bunch of cigarette butts, some cups, some plastic wrappers.
If it doesn't have the foil inside, then it is recyclable.
We can see what we could do before it got to the ocean and try to stop all of it from getting there.
Zach Gold is also president of his school's Heal the Bay Surf Rider Club.
So the beach cleanup doesn't just start at the beach, it starts everywhere. So at your house, at your school, a public place, wherever there's trash, that's going to end up in the ocean eventually.
Trash from land winds up in storm drains, and when it rains, the runoff dumps it here.
When we get a heavy rain, it'll actually breach through all of the sand, and all of the trash that's been collecting in the storm drains will come running out into the ocean.
No rain today, just a beach of pristine sand. Or so it seems.
We are laying a transect tape down on the sand.
What do you got? Hard plastic? Awesome. So what would you consider that as? Would you consider that a hard plastic or a miscellaneous?
This would be a miscellaneous hard plastic piece, right?
So what are you guys working on over here?
Well, today we are actually measuring transects. Now what a transect is that a transect quantifies the amount of plastic or any other types of trash that are measuring on the sand or any other surface.
Yasemin Sarvian says it's a good way to figure out how bad the trash situation really is.
With that, you're able to estimate over the surface area of the entire beach how much trash, how much plastic, how much pollutants are on the sand.
It's info they use to lobby for better environmental protections.
When officials are going and saying, is it really necessary to ban plastic bags, to put regulations on the beach to help clean up the beach, we are able to take this information, take this factual proof and say, yes, it is, and here is why. Here is the concrete proof.
Some of that proof is nearly invisible.
So Val, show us what you found.
Well, right here in my hand, it's really small to see. I have a plastic nurdle, which is a plastic pre-production pellet, which is made in factories. They make a lot of these, and then they put it in a mold, and this can be made into a lot of different plastic products.
Marine life mistake these for food and eat them and the chemicals they contain.
And then more animals eat it, and different animals eat that animal, and then that ends up on our dinner plate.
That's a nightmare. So it's always exponentially worse.
Yeah.
Chemicals and bacteria are what these guys are on the lookout for. Every week, they're out here collecting water samples.
Is there ever a day where the water just comes back clean?
Yeah, there is. It actually happens a pretty fair amount. It was a lot worse, but I think it's getting a lot better.
Well, that's one piece of good news. But before heading back to the lab to test these samples, one last beach comb. And no one's happy about what they've found.
I don't want my kids to see this. We're living in a wasteland. This is ridiculous.
In reality, we shouldn't be finding anything. There should be no trash.
We want nothing.
Exactly.
Okay.
That's our goal.
Up next, we go to the classroom with Team Marine, where they've got a few surprises.
We'll be right back with more Eco Company. Now, more on the amazing story of Team Marine. And as Adam discovered, their work doesn't end at the beach.
He went back to the classroom to check out their lab and found a rather large surprise front and center.
This is Team Marine's home base, and it just might be the most colorful classroom we've ever seen. Science teacher Benjamin Kay has coached Team Marine from the beginning.
They're really leading a movement that's just so sorely needed on our planet, and to fix it and to fix our culture and get us on the right path of sustainability.
That message is everywhere you look in here. From their giant mural made of hundreds of plastic bottle caps to Poseidon, Team Marine's boat which is powered by solar panels.
It took about 7 months.
Students built this boat to race in a high school solar competition.
You raced with this.
Yeah, I was just like, I worked on this boat for so long, I wanted to race it.
Eileen Flores was the skipper.
We should start using alternative energy. That's the whole point of this competition, to show, all these companies, kids can do it, a bunch of high school kids can do it. Why can't, all these big companies think of something alternative instead of polluting our environment?
Speaking of pollutants, it's time to head to Team Marine's lab. This is where students test their water samples. First, they add fluid, then put them in an incubator for 24 hours.
So the food that we just put in the with the samples, it can allow the bacteria to grow.
Here's a sample they've already taken. Anything that shows up blue means it's testing positive for bacteria. If the number is high enough, that means it's not a good idea to go into the water.
That certain sample from that certain place on the beach where we picked would be to not surf.
So from keeping an eye on water quality to promoting solar power and cleaner beaches, Team Marine is looking out for the rest of us. But they say it's up to everyone to lend a hand to clean up our oceans before it's too late.
The best way to clean it up is to stop the problems. So make sure that you pick up after your pets and don't litter ever, and don't use pesticides because they will run off when you water your plants. And just try to keep everything out of the storm drains.
We want to show everybody that, you know, we can make a difference, we can change. You know, it always seems kind of redundant, kind of, you know, cliche that, you know, the simple things could make a big difference. But, you know, we do try to promote that because we do believe it and we see it every day.
It's a Team Marine call to action they hope to spread around the globe.
Well, that wraps up another episode of Eco Company. Thanks for watching us.
For more information on the stories in our show or to send us your feedback, check out our website at eco-company.tv.
And be sure to check us out on Facebook. We'll see you next time
on Eco Company.